Okay, folks, so our last macromolecule, the last piece of this entire unit is going to be all about proteins. Perhaps the most important macromolecule. So proteins contain these atoms slash elements: carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, which all three other macromolecules included: carbohydrates, lipids, and nucleic acids. But then proteins get a special element not seen in any of the other three, and that is nitrogen. Okay, so proteins contain and are made up of the atoms carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. The monomers, aka the building blocks, the monomers that come together to make up the much larger polymer, which in this case are macromolecules and specifically proteins. The monomers of a protein are called amino acids. You've probably heard of these before. You're not so sure what they are or what they do, but you've definitely heard amino acids before. Amino acids are the monomers of a protein. They build proteins. These are smaller units that come together to make a large macromolecule protein. There are over 20 different types of amino acids. These amino acids are different in their chemical makeup. The atoms that make up these amino acids are a little different. So, at the top of the screen here, I have 4 different amino acids. Okay, and we're going to break them down, and I promise they are way, way, way simpler than they first appear right now. So, first and foremost, every single amino acid has 4 parts to it. And we're going to label these groups in the drawings above. We have a group called a carboxyl group. Every amino acid has this group, and it's right here. This is their carboxyl group. All right, this is one part of the amino acid. Okay, one part of the amino acid. Another part is called an amino group, where the amino acid derives its name from. That group is right here. Okay, notice I'm labeling them on different amino acids, but if you notice, here's an amino group, here's an amino group, here's an amino group, and here's an amino group. All 4 of these amino acids have these parts because all amino acids have these parts. Thirdly, we have a single hydrogen. Now, I bet you can't guess where that's at. It's right there. There's our single hydrogen group that makes up an amino acid. And look, they all have the hydrogen. And in case I didn't make this clear, they all have a carboxyl group as well. Now, if you're paying attention and if you're very savvy with your macromolecules, you may have noticed that these 3 groups are all the same between all 4 of these amino acids up here. But then these parts highlighted in white, they're all a little bit different between the amino acids. They're different. We call this group highlighted in white an R group. All right, R is just like a variable, meaning it can be anything. So the R could be this group, the R could be this group, the R could be that group, or the R could be this group. The parts highlighted in white are what differentiate one amino acid from another, okay? And what differentiate the 20 amino acids from each other. That's why there are 20 different ones, because this R group is different for every amino acid. Now, what do proteins do in the cell? And I think a simpler question is, what don't they do? Okay, proteins do so much for our cells. There are things that proteins do that I don't even know about, if I'm being completely honest. And in my experience, if you don't know what causes something to happen inside a cell, then a safe answer is a protein, because they do so much. Ooh, this is a big one. This is a really big one. Enzymes. Enzymes are a huge deal. Enzyme is just a special protein. It's a protein that has a very special job, and it's called a catalyst, meaning it speeds up chemical reactions. And we're going to talk about exactly how that occurs in the next screencast. Proteins are used as hormones. All right? Hormones are chemicals, proteins, secreted by certain glands in your body that affect other places in your body. They help you grow, they help your brain develop, they help you change into an adult from childhood. Hemoglobin is a transport protein. Hemoglobin is the protein on your red blood cells that picks up oxygen and transports it to other vital places in your body. Contractile proteins. Contractile proteins. What the heck is a contractile protein? Well, how about this? Right? How am I moving my hand? My muscles, right? My hand has proteins in it along with muscle cells that help it contract. All right? That's why after vigorous exercise, it's good to consume protein, because your muscles are damaged. The proteins in your muscles are damaged, and your body needs new proteins to fix them. Antibodies. Now, I'm sure you've all heard of antibodies before, but you don't exactly know what they are. Antibodies are these very specialized proteins that float around your body in your blood and are specifically designed to find certain foreign invaders like viruses or bacteria or parasites or fungi. Antibodies float around your bloodstream looking for foreign invaders. They are part of your immune system, and they're also proteins. Membrane proteins. The cell, our cells that we're going to learn about next unit, they have this membrane around them. As we learned back in the lipids screencast, these membranes are made of lipids, but they have these proteins embedded throughout them. And these proteins do so much that I could teach a whole class on it. But just know that cell membranes have proteins embedded within the lipids themselves. And lastly, structural proteins. Our muscles have proteins in them for structural support. Our bones have proteins in them for structural support. And that's all I could fit on this slide. And that's all you need to really understand for proteins. But just know that they do so much more.